Hello everyone, Kier here, and welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm focused on the casual nature of the game, and each week I discuss the new patch, the new card, and my feelings on the game. I'm also a part of the Snap Judgments podcasting network, and I'm going to talk about Snap on This with 2 exclamation points, which is a fantastic little podcast. If you haven't checked it out already, they're doing something that's a little more unique than some of the other podcasts abroad for Marvel Snap. They try to include games and do things that are more interesting, especially the secret homework that they do is really cool. And definitely, if you guys are interested, it's hosted by Lauren Whatevs, Ben Roller, and Ree, and they're a fantastic trio and do an amazing job of keeping things interesting each week, despite, sometimes not having all the news to talk about. Now, let's hop into it. This week, again, fairly slow week. Not as many exciting things, and when we get to the OTA, you'll know what I'm talking about. We have a new card in Kahhori, and then we also got an update through the Marvel Snap YouTube channel. There was a panel that was hosted by It's Guest Gaming, and there were some other people there like Binks and Nina's Noob that talked to Matt, which is the product developer in Second Dinner, and we got a lot of details about Snap Packs, so I want to go over some of those. Let's start with Kahhori, who is a 4/6 that says, on reveal, each card in your hand gives one of your cards in play +1 power. So first of all, I love Kahhori. I am so happy to see her in Snap. I think she's genuinely one of the best original characters that the MCU has ever put out ever. I think that she's really, really fun and a great addition to the Marvel Universe. She does have one comic, I think, and it's a good one. But I just wanted to say, huge fan of the character. So, as for her card, I think she's okay. I'm not certain. I'm not like blown away by what she can do in the deck. I think part of the problem with this is, it's like Gwenpool, but the power distribution doesn't have as much of an oomph as Gwenpool can. And obviously their effects are different in that, Kahhori has a huge advantage in being able to be played on turn 6 versus the other two, Galacta and Gwenpool. I think that gives her an edge. And in terms of her power, I think she can scale to a pretty good number, right? If you were to have the maximum of 7 cards in your hand, you're talking about a 4/13, which is really, really good, right? But again, since it's spreading that power, the best use of it is trying to put it on a couple of targets, which in a hand generation deck sort of it gets awkward sometimes, right? If you're playing a Victoria hand deck with Quinjet and you're using that generation in order to, slam some power down, waiting for Kahhori to be played down doesn't always feel the best. Sometimes those cards want to be played on a certain turn with Quinjet to get the most value. So, there's a bit of push and pull with this card that I think could use some smoothing out. But overall, I think that she's decent. I'd say, maybe she hasn't found a deck that really synergizes with her yet. Maybe there's some on-reveal shenanigans that can squeeze the most out of her effects, like a Grandmaster that we're just not using as effectively. Right now, on SnapFan at least, she's, going at around a 50 to 51% win rate, which isn't the best, but it's decent, right? We've seen cards land much, much lower that are, much more powerful. So I don't know. I guess I'd like to see some more creativity perhaps with this. I tried her in a Moon Girl She-Hulk sort of list, and I thought that would be fun, but again, it's that okay, but if you play Kahhori, then you're not saving the energy for She-Hulk and Mockingbird and whatever, so the whole construction of the deck is different. I did just get Sasquatch, so I'm a bit interested maybe seeing if I could do sort of like a Gwenpool Kahhori sort of combo and doing Mysterio into Sasquatch Mockingbird. That would be kind of fun, but again, it's that it's the eternal how do you squeeze it in all in the same list. So I don't know. I've yet to see this card cracked, but I do think that she's decent. Okay, moving on to the OTA balance updates. I'm just gonna preface this with, it's kind of minimal. And I think they've explained before that they don't want to upend the meta if they don't have to. But I really think that they should be focusing on making cards more relevant than this. But let's just get into it. So the first thing that they've changed is Rocket Raccoon and Groot, going from a 3/3 to a 3/2. And yeah, I mean, this card is still cracked. It's still in a ton of lists. And it's not really surprising why. You give a card the ability to move, the ability to scale in power, and the ability to afflict power, right? And suddenly it's really, really good. Like, it's the combination of effects that make this so powerful. It just does a little bit of everything. I think it does impact it a little bit in the Iron Patriot lists. I've seen at least a bit of a discussion about that because it was one of the best follow-ups, and now it's just an okay follow-up to Iron Patriot. So, I mean, in that regard, I'm sure it's helping a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I'm still seeing it everywhere. Next up is MODOK, and MODOK is going from a 5/8 to a 5/7. Okay, like, I don't know if MODOK was the problem in these lists. I mean, I'm just looking at Bullseye and thinking, if Bullseye is allowed to give, 20 power to Morbius and afflict the board with, negative 12 or more, like, I really feel like Bullseye is the problem here. But I'm just somebody who struggles against that deck. A lot of my lists aren't great into discard. So, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of hurting the regular discard decks, and then the decks that only use MODOK as a backup are sort of just, like, shrugging their shoulders. 5/7 is still okay, right? Legion is a 5/7. So, next up is the first Ghost Rider, and he's going from a 2/5 to a 2/6. Yeah, I mean, makes sense to me. It's a card that has a pretty detrimental downside that you have to play around. And 2/6 feels like a really good body. I still love playing the Conchu list with Blob and Iron Man and White Tiger. Like, that's a fun list to me, so I'm still going to keep playing that. They say that they want the first Ghost Rider buff to encourage reanimation strategies, and I don't know, man. I don't see it. Again, I feel like they're really targeting the wrong thing in this Discord archetype. I'm glad for the buff on the first Ghost Rider, but MODOK, you're not playing MODOK for his power. Like, he could be a 5/5, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think his effect is just so powerful, it makes up for it. Moving on to Devil Dinosaur, they're going to a 5/4 from a 5/3, and that's great, right? If you have 3 cards in your hand, now you're playing down a 5/10, which is above rate. So, yeah, I mean, that's neat. I don't think that the card is going to see a lot of play. It has a lot of weaknesses, right? It can be stopped by Shang-Chi. It can be stopped by Enchantress. It can be stolen by Rogue. I mean, there's just a million things, right? But, as a beginner card, this is nice. It makes this card even better in the lower pools. And I don't know. Maybe this will encourage more people to try it with Kahhori. But, it's just one bump in power. The same goes for Bishop, who is going from a 3/1 to a 3/2. And, like, I feel like this card in particular maybe should be played more. I was thinking about the math, right? You play 4 cards after Bishop now, and you have a 3/6. That's pretty good. Like, that's decent, right? Like, I'm thinking my favorite card in the game right now is Speed. I can get Speed up to, a 3/9 if I have a perfect curve. But the advantage of Speed is that he's ongoing, right? The power with Bishop has always been when you play him early, he gets a lot of value. And if you don't, he kind of sucks. So I don't see this buff changing that, and I would hope that, again, maybe the lower serious players can appreciate this. I'm not seeing this making it that relevant. Patriot got a similar buff, but I think it's more relevant in Patriot's case. He went from a 3/1 to a 3/2. I think that this helps in the instance that you're going against Red Guardian, right? Like, these decks used to run Invisible Woman, but since Alioth is a card, that's become really difficult to keep. I think Patriot going from a 3-2 is more relevant in those lists where you're going like Patriot, Khazar, Blue Marvel, Ultron. Because sometimes you don't get the perfect line, and having like, I don't know, a 1-2 Iceman in that same lane could be relevant. But like, again, is 1 point really going to change anything? No. I'm just not super impressed with it. You could make Patriot a 3-3, and I think that, you know, maybe people would be more interested in it. But as it is, the same lists that used Patriot are going to use Patriot still. So, yeah, I don't know. The last change on here is Red Wing going from a 3-4 to a 3-5. I think this is relevant. I think, 3-5 has sort of become the new 3-4. This will make it more enticing to play. But this is, this doesn't fix the problem that you have with Red Wing, which is that it might pull something that you don't want. It's really hard to guarantee that it pulls something like an InfiNOT, which is where you'd want the power. So, I don't know. This whole OTA just feels like changing numbers for the sake of changing numbers, and I don't say that often. They even went back and changed some old cards, which I like to see, but it just feels like padding. I don't know. I hope to see some change in the meta. I'd like to see some more Devil Dinosaur, and I'd like to see some more Patriot, but it's a hard sell. I'm going to say it a million times. I keep asking for them to change Giganto and Colossus, right? Because I feel like those cards see literally no play, as opposed to, these other cards that see a little bit of play here and there and might enjoy this power boost. Like, I still think that if they did something with Colossus's power and cost, made him like a 4-6 or even something like a 5-9, that's interesting. Right? Because you can do stuff like that. You can do stuff like Shuri into Colossus and then make him like a 5/18 that can't be destroyed or have his power reduced, right? That's interesting. It's not overpowered, right? You're investing. You get my point, right? There are things that you could do to make these sorts of cards interesting, but they just don't want to do them. Moving on to something a little bit more palpable, we have some more updates regarding the new Snap Pack system. And the most important thing is the pricing. So, the prices of the packs are as follows. Seasonal Series 5 is going to be 5,000 tokens. Seasonal Series 4 is going to be 2,500 tokens. Collector Series 5 is going to be 4,000 tokens. Collector Series 4 is going to be 2,000 tokens. And Collector Series 3 is 650 tokens. If you remember, the Seasonal Series 5 and Seasonal Series 4 packs are going to include the last 2 months, are going to include this month and last month's Series 5 cards. So the price on this is actually really, really good because you're getting extra stuff, as well as the random card. And depending on when you open it and how many cards you already own, you can almost guarantee yourself a certain card. And the Collector Series packs are also really, really cheap as well. Like, remember, you're going to get 3,000 tokens every time you would get a Spotlight Key. So, like, for example, the Collector Series 3 being 650, that sounds like a really amazing way to fast-track your way through Series 3. Every time that you would get a Spotlight Key, you can almost guarantee yourself that you're going to get, like, 4 Series 3 cards. Which is awesome. That's so cool. And I don't believe there's going to be a timer on buying these packs, so you could buy several in a row. They also explained that, there's going to be UI that shows you the possible cards that you could get when you click on the card. And they're going to be transparent in the chances you have for getting a certain card. So, yeah, that's great. They also previewed a bit of how much token packs are going to cost. This is similar to how you can buy gold or buy credits. So you get 50 free a day, which, is pretty minimal. But for golds, 1,300 gold gets you 1,000 tokens. 3,100 gold gets you 2,500 tokens, and it looks like 6,000 gold gets you 5,000 tokens, something like that. So those prices seem pretty good to me, right? But it depends on what you define as good. I obviously won't be ever buying these, but for somebody that wants to fast track their collection, there are ways to get like, you know, a bunch of gold in a bundle, and then you can spend that on tokens if you want to fast track. So overall, I mean, those are just a couple of the highlights from the video. I highly recommend you check it out. It seems pretty good. Like, these things seem like they're going to objectively improve the game. And I'm seeing a lot of positive reception online, and I'm also seeing a bunch of, like, people who just aren't receiving all the information, which is fair, right? Having it disseminated in a bunch of different places can be confusing. But I genuinely think with the information that we have, if you take it all in, this is a net improvement to the game across the board. They did also explain, by the way, some people were afraid when they mentioned that they were going to be adding more cards per season. It would become a whack-a-mole game of trying to collect all the different cards, and we'd sort of be losing the benefits of this. But they explained that they're not really expanding it by double. They're probably going to add like 1 or 2 more Series 4 cards, which, again, are going to be available right at the beginning of the season with the Series 4 packs, right? That's awesome. I mean, this whole system just seems so healthy for the game. I hope that they don't mess it up. I'm like so hopeful for this game right now. This seems amazing for pretty much everybody. You could argue for certain series that it might be, not as good as some other, people who are in the collection track, but I mean, I really don't see the downside to this system compared to the system that we have now. Like, it's not even a contest. This just seems way better. And I think KM has been really hammering this, and it's something that I mentioned too. The idea that you're getting 3,000 collector's tokens means this is just, like, you could ignore the snap pack area completely and just say, if I want a card, I just need to wait for it to show up in my shop and then buy it. And it's that easy. Like, I've said this a million times already, right? I would much rather have choice in what I'm buying. So this is amazing. Like, I'm so happy that this is coming out. And I hope you're excited too. This is going to be a really cool era of Snap. I'm really excited to dive in. So anywho, this is a podcast you can rate and comment on, so please do that. And if there's one thing that you can remember, it's that I'm InfiNOT. Thanks for listening.